Good afternoon, YouTube. How's everybody doing on this Tuesday? Let me be one of the last to wish you a happy new year. Hope everybody had a great holiday, Christmas, and everything. I am doing swell. I am currently in Colorado. I will be leaving Colorado tomorrow to head back to Florida, so safe travels my way. I'm not trying to get petty, but just how that goes. Look forward here. We got a lot to talk about, but we got only a little bit of time to do it in. Of course, picks last week. I went 3 out of 6 for the college football. Wisconsin beat Miami last week, 35-3. Florida beats Michigan, 41-15. So I missed out on those two. I got the playoff games right as Alabama beat Oklahoma 45-34, and then Clemson smashes Notre Dame 30-3. Ohio State beats Washington yesterday in a very good game, 28-23, and then LSU beats UCF 40-32. Also, another action. The two NBA games I picked last week, I lost. Boston beats Philadelphia, and the Lakers beat Golden State. LeBron's still hurt with that groin injury, so see how that goes. I went 3 out of 4 with my picks. I didn't get my upset. Chicago beats Minnesota. Philadelphia also wins to get in. The Chargers beat Denver. Indianapolis beats Tennessee to get that last playoff spot. So Baltimore won. Pittsburgh needed a tie between Indianapolis and Tennessee, so Pittsburgh is out. And the playoff matchups, we'll get to those in a second, but we got a lot of coaching firings to get to. Miami fired head coach Adam Gase after 3 seasons, kind of underachieving a couple of years. First season was a playoff appearance. Last 2 have not gone right. Also, Miami has come out and said that they are moving on from Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. Jets fired head coach Todd Bowles after 4 seasons. One which he went 10-6, but it's been losing season after losing season since then. After 16 seasons, Cincinnati fired head coach Marvin Lewis. We'll get back to that in a second. I'm going to comment a little bit on that. Tampa Bay fired head coach Dirk Cutter. Baltimore, obviously I said this already, clinched the AFC North. Indianapolis clinched that last playoff spot in the AFC. Philadelphia gets in. Minnesota is out. Denver fired head coach Vance Joseph, and Arizona fired head coach Steve Wilks. Green Bay and Cleveland are also looking for head coaches. I was expecting maybe since Pittsburgh, because there's been a lot of talk about Tomlin. Baltimore still. There's been talk about John Harbaugh possibly going other places with that. What I want to get to is Marvin Lewis. I know he didn't win a playoff game 0-7 in his try and making the playoffs. 16 seasons, never could quite get over that hump. He brought Cincinnati out of mediocrity. This was one of the worst teams in football over the past several seasons before he got there in 2003. Cincinnati is more of a respected franchise now because of Marvin Lewis. I see why they fired him after 16 seasons. It just wasn't going to go anywhere more than that. I think they move on from Andy Dalton at quarterback. They got to start fresh again. But there is progress in that franchise in order to get to that next level of reaching Super Bowls and everything. But right now, going into this next season, a lot of question marks in the AFC North as far as Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. I think Cleveland and Baltimore are still going to be controlling this division, but we'll see what happens. But there's also reports with Pittsburgh and Antonio Brown might be leaving. Obviously, they're not going to have Le'Veon Bell, so we'll see what happens with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But we can go down the list of games. Buffalo beat Miami 42-17. Detroit beats Green Bay 31-0. So we said earlier, Chicago beat Minnesota 24-10. New England beats the Jets 38-3. Pittsburgh does beat Cincinnati 16-13, but yet loses out on that playoff opportunity. Atlanta beat Tampa Bay 34-32. Baltimore beat Cleveland 26-24. Houston beat Jacksonville 20-3. Kansas City beats Oakland 35-3. And Kansas City now is the number 1 seed. Carolina beat New Orleans 33-14. Don't hold nothing to that. New Orleans is resting everybody. They are still the number 1 seed in the NFC. Dallas beats the Giants 36-35. Indianapolis won 33-17 over Tennessee. Philadelphia beats Washington 24-0. The Chargers beat Denver 23-9. Rams beat the 49ers 48-32, and Seattle beat Arizona 27-24. I have not heard anything lately. Troy Tulowitzki is now a New York Yankee as far as baseball is concerned. Latest reports on Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, they might end up together. I'm hearing Cubs. Maybe he's talking with the Phillies right now. Also, Mike McCarthy might be interviewing tomorrow with the Cleveland Browns head coaching position. There's also a lot of coordinators. I was going to mention about Atlanta. They are keeping Dan Quinn as head coach, and he's also the defensive coordinator. Steve Sarkisian is out as offensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator's fired. All the coordinators that got fired in Atlanta. So, also a lot of teams are getting permission to talk to Josh McDaniels and Greg Flores from New England, the offense and defensive coordinators for the Patriots. So, a lot of things that could happen over the next several weeks. We'll keep an eye on what goes on there. Anything really in basketball, hockey? Hockey's been pretty much the same as far as what the Lightning have been doing. They are the number 1 seed. Nashville is up there too. Had the opportunity to almost go to an Avalanche game on New Year's Eve, but the tickets were so pricey, $80, and neither one of the teams are doing too great. But I mean, the Kings are way out of it. But Colorado right now would be in the playoffs if the playoffs were to start today. Also been reported that Alex Ovechkin is going to sit out the All-Star game due to rest. He wants to get ready for the stretch run for the Capitals. Capitals are right up there, I think, in 4th right now. Well, I know the seedings are different in hockey, but they are in the playoffs as of right now. Basketball, nothing really to get there. Kind of keep an eye on what goes on there. A couple of games tonight. Timberwolves are playing, I don't remember, Celtics, I think. And then the Lakers are hosting the Thunder, so a couple of good matchups there. But let's get to the NFL playoffs, and let's see what we got here. So our first matchup will be on ESPN ABC at 4:35 Eastern. So 3:35 Central, 2:35 Mountain Time will be Indianapolis at Houston. That's followed by at 8:30 Eastern Seattle at Dallas. Then Sunday's matchups at 1 o'clock is the Chargers at Baltimore on CBS and Philadelphia at Chicago on NBC at 4:40 Eastern on Sunday. So my picks will be, there's no more upsets, so I am going to take Houston to beat Indianapolis. I like Seattle on the road to beat Dallas. I just do. I think Seattle has their number. I like the Chargers to beat Baltimore, and I like Chicago to beat Philadelphia. So Houston, Seattle, Chargers, Chicago. Obviously, next week, we're going to get a little bit ahead to next week. The 1 seed, the first matchup will be on Saturday. I think it's at 4-something. Will be whoever the lowest remaining seed will play at Kansas City. That's how the ones will. And then Saturday night on Fox, the highest remaining seed that won will face the Rams. They are the 2. So let's just say this, for example. You see Kansas City. The 6th seed is the Indianapolis Colts. If Indianapolis wins, they go to Kansas City. Now, if Houston wins, they would go to New England. That's how that would work. Houston's the 3, Indianapolis is the 6. Now you got Seattle at Dallas. That's 4 and 5. Seattle wins. They have to wait to see what happens between Philadelphia and Chicago. Dallas wins, same thing. Now with the Chargers and Baltimore, they will already know where they're going based on what happens tomorrow. Now, based on what happens between Indianapolis and Houston. Indianapolis, like I said, if Indianapolis wins, they go to Kansas City. Houston wins would go to New England. And then whoever wins out of Chargers and Baltimore would be left to either go to vice versa, Kansas City, New England. Sunday will be the first game is whoever the lowest remaining seed, the highest remaining seed would be against New England. So if Houston wins, they go there. What I'm saying is the 6 can't play the 2 seed and the 3 can't play the 1. The 6 and the 2 meet, it would have to be for the conference championship. The 3 and the 1 won't meet until the conference championship if that's how the way it plays out. It's a lot easier to explain with Indianapolis, Houston playing first because whoever wins, they know where they're going. Obviously, whoever wins Chargers, Baltimore, they would know where they're going based on, they wouldn't have to wait. Same thing with Seattle and Dallas is no matter who wins, they would have to wait between Philadelphia and Chicago because, like I said, Philadelphia, if they win Saturday night, they would go to New Orleans. Now, if Chicago wins, they would play the Rams. That's just how that's going to work because of the 6 and the 3. 4 and the 5 have to wait for the 3 and the 6 battle. But also that Sunday afternoon, week from Sunday, the first game would be somebody at New England, followed by whoever is left plays New Orleans, and then we got the conference championships the Pro Bowl, and then Super Bowl 53. And looking ahead to the calendar year of sports, you got, after about 2 weeks after that, you got the Daytona 500. A couple of weeks after that, you got conference championships and March Madness. Once that gets done, that gets into April. We got a couple of weeks, and we get the NFL draft. Of course, free agency will be going on during that point. Also, when you look at it after that, you give it a couple more weeks, and you got the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs. That takes us into June. You got about a month left. Here comes training camp at the end of July. And, of course, you're going to have baseball going on in the middle of that, beginning of March. March is spring training, all this stuff. So all's going to get cycled back around again. So it's the end of football and everything. But I also got one more prediction to make. Monday night will be the fourth time these two teams have met in 4 straight years. Third time meeting for the national championship in 4 years. Clemson at Alabama. Now, I am putting this down on my NFL chart because I don't have any more paper to put on everywhere else. And thing with this is a rivalry that's becoming, it's sort of looking like Golden State Cleveland a little bit. It's always the same teams meeting for the championship every year. And everybody's thinking, well, Golden State this, Golden State that. Could Clemson be the Cleveland Cavaliers? Well, you can throw that out the window because the two matchups, they've been pretty close. And then last year wasn't really close. It was competitive, but Alabama pulled away at the end. This is my thing. You got Nick Saban going for, I think, his 7th national championship. Now, Dabo Swinney is going for his 2nd, and this would be Clemson's 2nd national championship in 3 years, 3rd overall as a team. I'm going to go Clemson, just because neither one of these teams has faced competition like this all year. I think if you look at the tougher schedule of what has to happen, who had gone through the most adversity would be Clemson, because they started with Kelly Bryant at quarterback. Trevor Lawrence came in about week 4 or 5, got hurt, but came on strong. Has he faced a test like this? Well, Notre Dame in that game, he did pretty well. Tua Tagovailoa got hurt against Georgia. Hasn't really faced much adversity this season. They will have their defensive tackle back in this game. I think Clemson wins this game because of the front 7. Clemson can get pressure on the quarterback. They can run the ball pretty well. I think Oklahoma kind of exploited a little bit of the weaknesses of Alabama's defense. Alabama's defense is smash mouth in the SEC, if you've noticed, but when they play tougher competition outside, let's just say Clemson, for example, Clemson can exploit a lot of those weaknesses that Alabama has, and vice versa. But I think Clemson wins to win their 2nd time in 3 years, and this will be the 4th time these two schools have met in 4 years, and the 4th straight year in the national championship, 4th straight year in the playoff, 3rd time they're meeting for the national championship in this playoff format. And for the 5th consecutive year, Alabama has made it to the college football playoff. So be interesting to see what happens with this. So like I said, we're going to take Clemson over Alabama. I got Houston to beat Indianapolis, Seattle to beat Dallas on Saturday, Chargers to beat Baltimore, and then Chicago to beat Philadelphia. So I will see you guys next week. I don't know what day it'll be, probably Tuesday or Wednesday. I still got to get back home, unpack, and I got a big workload for the weekend. So we'll see what happens, kind of keep things tight. Probably get into more college basketball in the upcoming weeks. The top 5 have not changed, as Duke's still number 1, Michigan's 2, Tennessee's 3. I don't know who's 4 and 5. I just remember the top 3. So we'll get more into that. And then, and I know UCLA fired their head coach this past week, their top basketball program. So we're on the home stretch of the NFL, and we're right near to the last game of college football. I hate and like this time of year. I hate it because it's the end of football, but I like it because it's kind of a fresh new beginning for teams. So. And we'll also in April try to do a little bit of a report on some teams that are doing their spring game. We'll get into that a little bit. But so for now, y'all have a great week. Stay warm wherever you're at. It's cold where I'm at, but I'm going to get into a warmer climate within the next day or so. So y'all take it easy, and God bless.